Hi, it's Jessie, and I'm drinking the same thing I was drinking in the clip I recorded before this, but you're definitely seeing after this because that video will come out later. Hi, I'm drinking this tea blend from Great Lakes Tea and Spices. It's mostly black tea. Supposedly there's other stuff. I haven't tasted. Alright, that's the speedy intro. Let's get into this. I'm going to be tier ranking some of my favorite books. Normally for favorites, I go by genre and I pick a favorite for each genre. And I'm really struggling to do that this year. My brain just cannot process, cannot put things over other things. So I'm not going to do that, or maybe I will still do that, but I don't know, post it on Instagram or something. Instead, I'm going to tier rank. These are all of the books that I rated 4 or more stars. I'm going to rate them, so let's go ahead and show you my ranking scale. So we have on here 5 tiers. Obviously, all of these are books I liked and enjoyed and I think are good. All right, so keep that with that in mind. Green, up here at the top, read this immediately. I think everybody should read this book. I think it's for everyone. Even if I think it's not for everyone, I want everyone to read it because I think there's something valuable everybody can get out of this. Rent Free, as in lives in my mind. I have not stopped thinking about this since I read it. Rated is, this got what it deserved. I think it's great. I thought it was great at the time. I still think it's great. Absolutely fine. On second thought, these are books that now that I'm looking back on it, it didn't really have the same impact. It's still a good book, but not best of the year good. And Who Dis is, I know I read this book. I can kind of tell you what I liked about, I could kind of tell you what the book is about, but I don't really remember why I liked it. Doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it left no long-term lasting impression on me. So let's go ahead and jump right in then. All right, first up is going to be A Clash of Steel. This is a retelling of Treasure Island. It's going right to Who Dis. Other than it being a retelling, Treasure Island, I think it was Sapphic. I don't really remember it. Master of Jin, rated. I think this is really good. I love P. Djeli Clark's writing. I don't think it's something that has been stuck in my mind the entire time. On the other side, A Prayer for the Crown Shy absolutely lives in my brain rent free. And similarly, so does A Psalm for the Wild Built. Love them both. Live in my brain rent free. Ace by Angela Chen. See, here's where I get into a spot where some things are going to fit in multiple categories. This lives in my brain rent free. I love this book. I actually really want to read it physically. The book club I do with some other people, is reading this for their January, and I will book club pick, and I really want to get a physical copy and annotate it so I can really give my thoughts on it because I read this and absolutely adored it, but it was a library copy and I really want to mark up the copy. But I'm going to put it and read this immediately because I really think everybody should read this. I think so many people, I think this has value even if you're not on the A spectrum. I think the way sex and sexuality is talked about in Western cultures in the United States is so overbearing, and I think it's useful for even an allosexual person to really examine the messages they've been getting and reevaluate what that means for them and what that means. Yeah, I'm not articulating that well, but I also think it's good to see how the kind of thing impacts other people different ways, how we view certain bodies as sexual and certain bodies as not sexual and hypersexual, and it's a really good book and I want everybody to read it. Actor A.G. Brown, honestly, this was really fun when I read it. Now, this is going to go rated. It was really fun when I read it. It's not the most revolutionary romance I have read. It is not the best thing, but it was fun. It's rated. Anger is a Gift. Absolutely read this immediately. I cried so many times. I really struggled. I cried so many times reading this book because it just had I just had that reaction to it. I think it is amazing that we are living in an age where this is really geared towards 16, 17-year-olds, but I really think a 12, 13, 14-year-olds could pick this up and really enjoy it, could pick up this book and see themselves represented and see that it's okay to be angry and that you can use that anger and that society is something worth getting angry at. and to see a queer boy that's accepted and loved by the people around him. And this book made me feel so many things, and I think it's fantastic. Babel, I'm not even going to talk about this that much because I doubt there's anybody on the internet that isn't familiar with Babel. If you haven't read it immediately, read it. This is the one book that I've been like, most of my friends are nonfiction readers. I have one friend that's a romance reader, and then most of my friends are nonfiction readers. I've been recommending this to all of them. Like, one of my friends, it's cute, his girlfriend is into like fantasy and stuff, and he's into nonfiction, and I was like, this is the book y'all should read together because it really just blends those two so well. Be People and the Bugs They Love. On second thought, this is one I read with my partner, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like reading books with my partner really skews things because the experience really makes me like it a lot more. This book was fine. It really got me re-excited about the idea of beekeeping and things. It's something I want to do eventually when I don't live in a city, although probably would. I have a balcony now that probably goes against my renter's agreement. Anyway, yeah, that would break my lease. Probably if I put a beehive out there, probably would break my lease. Anyway, but the thing that's sticking with me after reading it is how weird the end of it was, because this is this guy's like kind of memoir about getting into beekeeping. But also for some reason is weirdly about his relationship with his ex-wife, and it got weird and uncomfortable. So that's definitely on second thought. Bunny is rated. This was good. I don't remember that I read this year. Honestly, I read it this year. I enjoyed the experience of reading it. I could tell you what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it, but quite frankly, it's not better than just really good, you know? Burning Roses, who dis? I don't remember this much. I know there was a lot of really pretty quotes in it. There were a lot of things that were lovely about it. I don't really remember it that much. Cemetery Boys, rated. This is really good, but I think I've just read so many other things that I think had more impact on me through that this year. Certain Dark Things, ugh. It's probably my favorite, I don't know, because I got Mexican Gothic. It's possibly my favorite Sylvia Marina Garcia. Definitely liked it a lot more than Gods of Jade and Shadow. That one didn't quite work for me. Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. I'm going to put this on second thought. I feel like it was really good when I read it. I was in the right headspace to read it and really enjoy it. But if I reread it, would not enjoy it nearly as much. Drowned Country, rated. This was good. It's pretty. It's lovely. I don't really remember that much. Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk. I'm trying not to talk too long about some of these because I want to save my time for the ones that I absolutely love. Even Though I Knew the End by C.L. Polk, rent free. This book has convinced me that I really need to get into noir, but it has to be gay. I think that's the line. I'm reading, this is side tangent, but I'm doing it anyway. Currently I'm reading Leviathan Wakes, and one of the characters in that is a detective, and he's literally everything that made me think I would hate noir. He's like misogynistic and sexist and racist, and I'm like, wow, 2022 made me think I would like noir, and this guy has retroactively undone all of the work that C.L. Polk and another author we'll get to did. But anyway, this is gorgeous. It's a sapphic, supernatural noir story about demons and angels, and it's so short, and it packs such a punch in that short little amount of time. It's so good. Fairest, rated. This is the memoir of a Asian trans woman, and it's just very interesting. All right, this is The Wicked and the Vine. This is specifically issue 2, I think. Pandemonium, that's the second one. I really liked this because it really took what I liked in the first one. The first one's fun, and really increased the stakes on what was going on, create more to the plot, but I also have not continued the story since then, so I'm gonna have to put this in on second thought because as much as I liked it at the time, it really hasn't made me want to read the rest. Fevered Star, rent-free. It's sitting here living rent-free on my favorite shelf. Fevered Star is great. Fool's Errand, rated. And I'm putting it here for 2 reasons. One, I want to hedge my bets because I've heard that series gets way better, but also because similar to The Wicked and the Divine, I have not continued that series, but that's also a curse. Robin Hobb just I can't. Okay, so I'm switching thoughts. I'm gonna have a bunch of the craft sequence, and that one is Full Fathom 5. Which one is that? Give me a second while I think through each one. This one's Rent Free. This one I think is my favorite of the series. This series, the craft sequence, is this urban fantasy series where gods were a part of the world. People worship them. They got things out of worshiping the gods, but then magic came along. People found a way of harvesting the same abilities as the gods, and now the society, there was a huge war, and now after that there's some people that are more in favor of the craft, which is the magic system, and some people are still loyal to their gods, and it's so fascinating. Full Fathom 5 specifically explores how gods are still created. I don't really want to say too much. Goliath, everybody read this. Read this immediately. I know this is not for everybody. I know most people that read this aren't going to like this because it's weird, it's difficult to read, it's got a lot of strange stuff going on with it. I don't care because this has a lot it's saying, and I think everybody needs to hear what it's saying. Hell Followed With Us, Rent Free. I loved this book. This book has single-handedly convinced me that I am obsessed with body horror and that I need to read a lot more pandemic work because I am obsessed with what this book was doing. Jeanette McCurdy, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I don't think this is necessarily a read this immediately. I think, how do I put this in a way that's not going to be rude? I think sensationalizing celebrity memoirs is a little weird. And I get that and I want to clarify that I think this is a good memoir, not because she's a celebrity. I actually think everything else going on in her life is very interesting. I'm just weird about memoirs and weird about people reading them, and I feel like I got a lot out of this, but also I feel kind of weird about it. It feels, it feels voyeuristic sometimes. But I also feel like this could really help a lot of people. I'm going to put this in rated. I think it's really good. I understand why so many people loved it. I understand why it's on the list, top of everybody's list. I think it's kind of weird also. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I want to put this in Who Dis because I'm going to put it in on second thought. This was good, but in retrospect, I think I really hated is this a spoiler? I don't think it's a spoiler. I really hated the use of unreliable narrator here. I think I just don't like unreliable narrator. But unfortunately, people don't tend to say that because they consider it a spoiler. This one, I think it's very clear from early on she's unreliable, so I don't think it's a spoiler. But I don't think I like it as much. I'm really struggling with whether or not thrillers are even for me, but I want to keep trying them. Iron Widow, rated. I think this is really good. I'm really excited for the sequel, but also I haven't really thought about it since then. Jade City. Here's where the three Jades, where this gets weird. I'm going to put Jade Legacy in Rent Free and then put the other two in rated because I think the whole thing is fantastic, but I really think Jade Legacy, the ending of it, is what really makes it. This is The Last First Snow. This is also craft sequence. I think this is a weird one to try to rate because of where it sits in the series. I think it gives a lot of really interesting background, but I'm going to put it in rated. Lavender House, Rent Free. I'm telling you, I'm going to get into noirs. This is about, this one's not fantastical. This is not supernatural, but this is about a former cop who was fired from his job. This is mid-20th century. Fired from his job when it was found out that he was gay. I mean, it was people already kind of knew, but then he got caught in a raid and it couldn't be denied anymore. So he gets fired, and then somebody comes to him and it was like, hey, my wife died. Police are calling it a suicide. I think somebody killed her. And so he goes to this house with these rich, queer people, and I love it. I love it so much. Learned my lesson, honestly, Rent Free. So this series, and the other one, I don't think the third one's going to be on this, is the Wicked Villain series by Katie Roberts, which is Disney-inspired villains in really kinky romance. I think it's way better than Neon Gods, which I think is also on this list somewhere. Learn My Lesson lives in my brain rent free. This is the Hercules one, so it's Hercules, Meg, and Hades, and for some reason, like, I don't know, we're not going to talk about it. Leech, Rent Free, loved this book. Absolutely will be reading everything here in Ennis puts out because I absolutely love this. It's gross and creepy. It's about parasites and hive minds and autonomy, but also freedom. And I'm just throwing out buzzwords, but this is about a doctor that goes to the chateau. And it turns out basically all doctors in this world are part of this hive mind where they all have this parasite that connects them. And so the doctor that used to be at the chateau died, and she didn't see him die, which is weird because they should be connected. And it turns out there's another parasite that was infecting him, and it's creepy. It's very isolated. It's just creepy winter vibes. Like, I'm telling you, read this in November, December when it's cold, and it's so good, but also definitely not for everybody. Legends and Lattes, I'm gonna go ahead and put in read this immediately. I think sometimes we just need something a little light, a little fluffy. I sent this to my little brother for his birthday Christmas gift, and he loved it, and for that reason alone, I want everybody else to read it. Light from Uncommon Stars. This had such a huge impact on me at the time, and I'm trying to think if it still is. And I'm thinking no, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in rated. It's fantastic. Absolutely love it. I need to shrink those down. Give me a second, but I just don't think it quite has stuck with me the way I would love something that's living in my brain rent-free to do. Love Beyond Body, Space, and Time. Definitely going to go into... I'm just going to leave these behind for now. I'll shrink them down later. Definitely going into rated. It's very good. It just hasn't really stuck with me. Magic for Liars. Putting this in Who Dis. It's definitely good. I remember liking it, but now that I've read a couple more of these queer supernatural noirs, it just hasn't stuck with me the same. Also, I don't know if that one's actually queer. I don't remember. Mexican Gothic, rated. Yeah, rated. It's good. It's really creepy. Just hasn't really had the impact on me that I know a lot of other people had. There are a bunch of monstrous novels. I don't know why I did them all separately. I'm going to put these off to the side. There's 2 more that'll be coming up later. I'm just going to put them as a whole in rent-free because I could not distinguish between... my battery died. Why does this always happen? Monstrous. As a whole, I could not tell you between one volume and the other. The whole series lives in my brain rent-free, but I didn't binge them, but I read them all fairly quickly. So I'm just going to stack all of these on top of each other. And that's going to be that. Mooncakes. Who Dis? I don't remember this at all. I know it's got to do with witches and maybe werewolves and it's gay. I don't remember. Nona. This is rent-free. I mean, the whole Locked Tomb series lives in my brain rent-free. So it stands to reason Nona would. Nor rated. I don't remember this as much as I would like to, but I do think it's really good, and I just love Nnedi Okorafor, and I really wouldn't want to put her anywhere else. Notes on an Execution. I don't want to put this in rated because I legitimately think it's a little overrated. I don't think this book was saying as much as everybody else seems to think it was saying. I don't know. I do think there's some interesting themes on, the death penalty and murder and things like that, but it just did not leave the impact on me that it left on everybody else. So I'm gonna put it in on second thought because I remember it enough that I feel weird putting it in Who Dis, but I don't think it's that good. Other Words for Home. Here's the thing. Legitimately, this is not like a favorite of mine, but I'm putting this in read this immediately because I really think everybody will get something out of it. If you have a kid, especially. So this is interesting. Anyway, this is a middle grade about a young Arab girl. I'm not entirely sure from where she's from. Maybe Syria. Maybe. I don't want to definitely say that. Actually, might be Afghanistan. I don't know. She's somewhere Middle Eastern. And her family, while she's young, immigrates to the United States. And it's about her experiences trying to figure out how to fit in there and making friends. And it's really sweet. And I kind of want to reread it because I read the audiobook and then I was flipping through the book physically and it was like written in prose, and I kind of want to reread it because I don't think the audiobook got the prose across. But Over the Woodward Wall. And second thought. This was good. It's not memorable, or not, it's not unmemorable. It's just not exceptional in any way. Princess Florinda, you know what, screw it, I'm putting this and read this immediately. This one has no deeper message. Like, I tried to make sure I was going to keep read this immediately for something that's got a deeper message that I think everybody can get something deep out of. But honest to goodness, I just think everybody should read this because it's just fun. Not in the same way Legends and Lattes is just fun. That's lighthearted, no stakes. This is just, I think it is, I can't talk about it. So this is about a princess that is locked in a tower. And she waits and waits and waits for somebody to come rescue her, and waits and waits. And then one day this like pixie shows up and is like, why are you doing this? What are you waiting for? And she's like, you know what? You're right. And she decides to try to work her way out of the tower herself. And it's just wonderful. Riot Baby. Here's the thing. If I hadn't read Goliath this year, Riot Baby would definitely have been like prime of my head, top of words. I'm saying things. It would be rent-free. But the thing is that after reading Goliath, it just kind of fades a little bit in the background, which isn't to say it's bad. I really think everybody should read this too. But the impact it had, not quite the same. So that's rated. She Who Became the Sun, rated. I think it's good. I'm interested to see where the series goes from here, but it didn't really, I kind of forgot it within like a month of reading it. It was like one of my December favorites that I posted on Facebook for my friends to see, and then about a week later I was like, what happened in that? Skin of the Sea. I'm gonna put this in Who Dis. I know this was good and I know I really liked it, but I don't really remember it. Small Spaces, let's put this in, same thing, Who Dis. I know this was scary, I know it freaked me out, I know there was something to do with the corn patch. Speaking Bones, rent free. I love this book, I love this series. I don't know if I'm going to put all of them in there. Actually, let me put Speaking Bones and rated, and I'm only going to put my favorite of the series in rent free, kind of like what I did with Greenbone Saga. Straight rent free. This is by Chuck Tingle. I picked it up at my library on a whim. I was like perusing the new arrivals shelf and saw, you know, I was like, let me pick a couple novellas to just read. I can read them for a week, you know, in a weekend, have a good time. And I picked this up. I knew the author's name was familiar with me and didn't know why. Later occurred to me why. I want to read more of his stuff now because this was fantastic. The premise here is that 3 years ago, there was this phenomenon where just all of the cishet people in the world went absolutely batshit, or pardon my language, went bat poop and started killing, murdering everyone that wasn't cishet. And now that's happened annually. It's kind of like a purge, but it's a mental thing. This had a lot of weird ramifications on society, like people were forcefully outed because they didn't go nuts, and things like that. And so this is about a group of queer friends that decide to just, instead of locking themselves in their houses, they're like, we'll just go out into the middle of Joshua Tree where there's nobody around and we'll survive. And it is genuinely creepy, terrifying, the tension, and also with a couple very heavy-handed, to be fair, messages that I really liked. Awakened Kingdom, on second thought. This is the novella that's like the sequel novella to N.K. Jemisin's Inheritance trilogy. And the more I think on it, the more I think this was just not necessary and kind of pointless. The Babysitter Lives by Stephen Graham Jones. Who Dis? I really don't remember this book at all. I know I liked it when I read it, but same thing with The Ballad of Black Tom. For some reason, this left like so little impression on me. I think just like horror either is like, this was horrifying, creepy, sticks with me, or I forget it immediately. And I'm looking at this and all of the horror I've read is either rent-free or Who Dis. The Book Eaters. I'm going to actually put this one and read this immediately. This is such an interesting take on the vampire concept, which I think is well done. This is about book eaters are this race of humanoid creatures that consume books in order to live. However, every once in a while, there's this defect that some of the males are born with where they eat minds instead of books. And this is about a mother and her son, and she's just trying to take care of him, and it's about family and who actually matters, and leaving an abusive situation and overcoming the kind of trauma and indoctrination one has to deal with in these situations. And I just think it was really beautiful. And I think everybody would benefit from reading this. I think it says a lot about morals, and I think it's really brilliant. The Charm Offensive, Rent Free. This is like perfectly written for me. It's got like an A-spec character and a bi character, and it's about reality dating shows, and it's just awkward and cute, and I die for it. It's adorable, and I love it. And she has, Alison Cochran has another romance that came out at the end of last year. That's a Christmas one. That's about, I don't remember the premise, but I know the premise like really stuck with me as something I want to read, so I can't wait to read that. Okay, The Warriors, The Darkest Hour. I read 2 Warriors series, so 12 books of the Warriors books this year. For some reason, this is the only one that reached above 4 stars. I don't know how. I'm sure there was something. Let's see. This is in the first series. This is either book 4 or 5 in the first series. Yeah, I couldn't tell you why this one earned above 4 stars. This is going to go in Who Dis? No, this will go in On Second Thought. Just because I find it very hard to believe that it actually earned that. Similarly, The Ghost Bride is going on Second Thought. This is maybe unfair to The Ghost Bride, which I absolutely loved when I read it. But then I read Youngsi Chu's other book, The Ghost Tiger. Something, it's not The Ghost Tiger, where something about a tiger. Hated it, and that made me retroactively like The Ghost Bride less. Not fair to The Ghost Bride, nonetheless. Goblin Emperor, rated. I think this is really good. I think I'm glad I gave it a second chance. I started reading it in 2021 and like soft DNF'd it because I was like, this is too much for my brain right now, and I'm glad I came back to it. It's good. The Hacienda. This is going to be the exception to my horror. I think this is going to go with rated. I think this is really good. Oh, I guess Mexican Gothic's there too. Interesting. This is definitely good. I don't think it's bad. I think if you like horror, especially if you like haunted houses, you should read it. It's just, Killing Moon. I really liked The Killing Moon. I think for N.J. Jemisin, though, it's on the weaker side for me. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in rated. Kiss Quotient, rated. I think this was my year of romance. I was going to do a romance tier ranking, so let me know below if you want my 2022 romance tier ranking list, because I was going to do that. So I have it set up. I could do it, but I think the main takeaway for me with romance is that for the most part, they're all good. They don't really stick with me. Monsters We Defy. It's going to go ahead and go into Rent Free. I think I would have liked this more if our protagonist was queer. I know that's not really fair for me to judge a book off of that, but that's the honest to goodness truth. Other than that, though, I loved it. Once and Future Witches. Who Dis? No. On Second. Rated. I think it's good. I think from the book community as a whole, I think it's overrated, but for me, I think it deserves about a 4-star rating. Radium Girls, everybody read this immediately. I think this is so illuminating, pun totally not intended, about our American society and what we're willing to forgive in the race for profit and in the race for something that the country can perceivably benefit, and the people were willing to sacrifice for that. And it's heartbreaking, but I think it's really, really well done. Romantic Agenda is going to go in rated. This isn't like quite as high as The Charm Offensive. At the time I read this did a lot for me. I loved seeing this sex positive ace woman that was like putting herself out there and wasn't awkward and shy and like basically is a lingerie model and just going for it. But as time has gone on, it hasn't like stuck with me quite the same way that The Charm Offensive just did, because I'm here for cheese. I don't care. Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, Rent Free. I love this book. I need to read more of C.M. Wagner's stuff, although I've heard don't expect the same thing. This is about a con artist who joins a group of bodyguards, but then something goes wrong, and so it turns into an investigation, and it's queer, and it's got this like high late class lady and rough and tumble rogue from the streets romance going on that I just adore. It's so good. Oh gosh, the rat. I just remembered the little rat. This was the year of mice for me. Between Legends and Lattes and The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry, this was the year of lovely little rats for me. Veiled Throne. This is the one I'm going to go ahead and it's put in rent-free. Interestingly, I think this is most people's least favorite book in the Dandelion Dynasty, but to me, I don't know, there was just something about... I liked the separate plot lines going on in this. So Dandelion Dynasty is an Asian-inspired epic fantasy, and it follows what is the name of that family? Doesn't matter. This guy, in the first book, there's these two guys that kind of enact a revolution, lead a revolution, and then we're kind of following the one guy's family as their dynasty, following the dynasty. My phone's going to die soon. Love that for me. And it is just absolutely delightful. Let's go through this rapid fire. Okay, Monstrous. We already got Monstrous. Where is that stack? Oh, it's gone. Whatever. Wall of Storms, rated. I think this one's also very good. I think this really expands the world. I think for me, though, the reason it's not in rent-free is that I had to adjust my expectations. That brings it down a little bit. There, rated. I can't remember this nearly enough, and if I read it closer to the beginning of the year, it would probably be in Who Dis, but I've read it close enough to the end of the year that although I'm sure I will forget it over time, at the moment, it is really good. Good enough. This is not the prettiest chart ever, but we're going to work with it. 3 Parts Dead, rated. I think this is very good. It's not my favorite of the series, but it's very good. Two Serpents Rise, honestly, is going in on second thought. This is by far the weakest installment in that series, and the more I think about it, the less I like it. All right, here's another Monstrous. Let's move that down here. When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, rated. I love this series. I love the storytelling in it. This one's, I like the way the two things intersect. Where the Drowned Girls Go, rated. Still doesn't beat out Down Among the Sticks and Bones for my favorite, but it's still really good. Winter's Orbit, rent-free. I love these little awkward... I just love them, okay? This is a romance. It's political sci-fi romance, sort of. It is not lighthearted. I want to make that very clear, but it has this kind of Prince and Me kind of rom-com plot going on at the same time as this like very dark political sci-fi, and somehow they come together, and I love them. Witchmark, rated. I really liked this. This kind of unintentionally started my noir journey this year, and it was really good. Let me make those 4 smaller so they aren't hiding so much. And that would be my tier ranking of my favorite books of 2023. I think if we're going to call any favorites, it's going to be that rent-free, read this immediately category. I could not tell you which ones are better than other ones. I love them all. That's why I didn't do favorites this year. All right, subscribe if you like this. If you think you have the same taste in books as me, you're looking at some of these, you're like, I love them, please subscribe so you can hear me gush about books periodically. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what some of your favorites are. If I can get some comments, I would love to do a vlog reading some of my subscribers' favorites, but people don't want to comment, so I can't do that. All right, that's everything. Sorry, this got rushed. Love you. Bye. Just popping in quick to say this is the first video I'm uploading in 2023. And as I haven't uploaded in a while, but I've still been recording, filming, things are going to be a little weird in 2023. We're going to have... I'm just you kind of gotta go with the fact that my hair changes and my location changes and everything changes as you watch my videos through the year, and there will be no continuity because it's a backlog. All right, love y'all. Bye.